Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Student Pilot Cast, Episode 1, Introductory Flight. We'll talk briefly today about the first flight and a little history.
Chandler Ground, Cherokee 4121 Tango, Chandler, service taxi for south departure with Kilo.
Does it take to be an angel? Where does the sun go when it sleeps?
Before we get started, I wanted to make a slight correction from Episode 0. Not a correction exactly, but a clarification. After I published Episode 0, I listened to it a few days later on my Zune, more like a listener would, I guess, and I realized that in it, I seemed to imply that I would be doing a podcast from the student's perspective for the first time. This just isn't true, and I wanted to call that out. As I mentioned, I've been inspired by many aviation podcasts, including the only other one I know of from a student's perspective, and that is the Student Pilot Flight Podlog by Will Hawkins, who I believe now goes by Pilot Will Hawkins since he's now earned his wings, so to speak. So I just wanted to clarify that this is not the first, and therefore not the only student pilot podcast out there. It may be the only current one, though, as now that Will's become a pilot, he started a new podcast, simply called the Pilot Flight Podlog. I'll put links to both in the show notes at studentpilotcast.com. If I've missed others, please let me know by leaving feedback at the website, as I love all the content out there and I don't want to miss any. I'll mention other podcast inspiration I've had in future casts. For now, though, let's get started. Well, folks, I started. I went to my scheduled introductory flight on Tuesday and flew a Warrior for about a half an hour. Well, I didn't really fly it all that long, but I sat in the left seat for that long. You all know what I mean. It was an intro flight. What do you expect? So let me start with a little background first. That might be helpful. I mean, you really don't know anything about me. Don't worry, though. We won't go too in-depth. Hopefully I won't make you fall asleep. See, this isn't the first time that I've done an intro flight. All right, now that the cat's out of the bag, let me explain. About 10 years ago or so, I had several friends who were budding pilots, in other words, fairly new pilots. I flew with them off and on as a passenger for local fun flights. Like I said in Episode 0, I've always wanted to fly for myself, but never seemed to have the time or the money to make it a reality. At that time, my buddies talked me into taking a flight or two with an instructor, which I did. I didn't exactly quit, though. I knew full well when I took those flights that I wasn't going to become a pilot right away. I simply didn't have the money. I was a poor college student with a young baby, a part-time job, and a lot of other responsibilities. I couldn't resist getting a wee bit of training, though, and did it as a quick diversion. I continued flying off and on with my friends, but slowly even that stopped as I lost touch with most of them as jobs changed and lives changed. One of them I'm still good friends with, but he up and moved to Africa and still hasn't come back yet. By the way, Dave, I'm still enjoying those couches. I have another confession to make. I've been so interested in aviation all of my life that I've developed a bad, or maybe a good habit, depending on how you look at it. I habitually check out aviation manuals and books from the library. I've bought pilot training books, etc. over the years, and I did it for, get this, pleasure reading. Sick, I know, but what can I say? I'm hooked, and I have been ever since before I can remember. I even bought a handheld scanner from one of my flying buddies from a long time ago so I could listen to ATC as I drove around the valley for work, etc. And listen I did. I've had enough time on the listening end of the radio that I actually feel pretty comfortable on the radio, even though I haven't really done it much. Now, I've kept myself occupied with other things. I haven't been just sitting around waiting to fly. I enjoy things like scuba diving, amateur, and even a little professional photography, dabbling in videography, etc. Come to think of it, most of my hobbies and diversions are fairly expensive, somewhat cerebral, and take all the time you can throw at it. I even took up RC flying for a while. For those of you that don't know what that is, the RC stands for remote control, and it involves building and flying miniature models of the full-scale airplanes. And for the power-hungry full-scale pilots out there that don't realize it, you wouldn't believe the power-to-weight ratio those model guys have achieved these days. It's incredible. Think helicopter-style hovering with a 2-pound fixed-wing model and an 11-inch prop. It's something. But I digress. Well, the point is, aviation's been in my mind for, forever. So while this was an introductory flight, it wasn't so completely new to me. For my buddy Trent, though, who went with me, this is another story. So when I told Trent that I was finally going to get my flight training started, he said, "You know, that sounds awesome. I might want to do that too." I suggested that we do the intro flight together, and who knows, maybe we would be primary students at the same time. He agreed. Then I told him about this audio cast that I was thinking of starting, and he jumped right in. Said he would gladly help. So while you haven't heard from him yet, I expect we'll do some of this together, even if he doesn't start his training right away. Now for Trent, it turns out, this was his first time in a single-engine plane. I knew he was going to love it. So we showed up at the field, which was Chandler Municipal, in Chandler, Arizona to be exact. That's CHD, or Charlie Hotel Delta, for those of you who know the area from the air. I've been considering flight schools from 2 different airports, Chandler and also Falcon Field in Mesa, Arizona, which is FFZ, or Foxtrot, Foxtrot, Zulu. They're approximately equidistant from my house, which is about 20 minutes, and both are Class Delta airports that live under a shelf in the Phoenix Class Bravo airspace. See, I'm not supposed to even know that yet, right? Shh, I won't say anything if you don't. I'm going to save the whole selection process, which I would say is not completely done yet, as I'm still evaluating a little bit, but I'll save that for another audio cast. But suffice it to say right now, I've narrowed it down to Chandler Air Service at, of course, Chandler Muni. So let's see, where was I? Oh yeah, we showed up at Chandler Airport, and we met Brian, who was going to be our CFI for the intro flight. At Chandler Air Service, the chief instructor evidently assigned you an instructor based on their availability and the student's schedule. So while I'm sure they're all very good, I don't have much say, initially anyway, in which CFI I'd work with. Not that it matters all that much. As of right now, I don't know most of them anyway. I met 2, one when I first came into the school to ask questions and find out more about them, and then, of course, Brian, who did our intro flight. Anyway, we watched Brian do a quick pre-flight of the Warrior, which is a PA-28-161, and then we hopped in. I'm in the left seat first with Trent in the back, and we plan to fly down to Casa Grande, which is Charlie Golf Zulu, and switch places down there. I'll spare you all the details, pretty standard fare, but let me tell you, it was great to be back in the cockpit again. The best part, though, I think, I know I've made the commitment now, and I'm going to try to fly 3 times a week until I get my cert. I really think that was the thing that hit me most, was that this just wasn't another one-time thing, but knowing that I'd be back in the cockpit again very soon was reassuring. And while I wanted to just hop back in right then, I knew my time would come. Trent had a great time. While he's not sure it's the right time for him to start, he's got the bug, and there's no question about that, and I'm sure he won't cure it anytime soon. He said his wife isn't very happy with me right now. I influenced Trent's entry into the scuba diving world as well, so I guess I'm costing him a lot of money. He was having a good time, though, and I caught some audio that gives you a glimpse into his humor. After discussion between Trent and CFI Brian on the ground at Casa Grande about the rudder pedals and the brakes on top of the rudder pedals, a funny thing happened. Shortly after Brian gave Trent control of the plane while heading back north towards Chandler, this was the discussion.
Airplane should, for the most part, fly itself. When you have it trimmed out, use the trim wheel so it doesn't want to climb or descend on you. You set it where you want it, and it should be pretty much just 3 fingers on there, nice and relaxed. You just kind of nudge it in the direction you want it to go there.
All right.
When you get locked in on it, then you're kind of fighting yourself on it,
Do the brakes work up here?
Yeah, you can try them. I don't think they do.
Good stuff. Oh yeah, one more thing. Like I said, I've been listening off and on to ATC and pilot communication for a while, and I felt pretty comfortable on the mic, or, I thought I would anyway. But we all know how that flies out the window in real life. I decided to test myself a little, and I asked Brian while we were doing the run-up in Chandler if I could talk to ATC on the way out. Now, I would assume that this is not usual behavior on a discovery flight, but Brian was a good sport, and he obliged my overconfidence. He probably thought he could use a good laugh anyway, right? I think it went okay. Nothing unusual happened, so I guess I lucked out and didn't make a complete idiot of myself.
Super Cab 8-3 Papa, runway 22 left.
You're full, Rich, and I'm going to leave that right there, and we're good.
Mind if I talk to the tower?
Sure. Yeah, just tell them 2-1 Tango. We're at
220 at Niner.
Cherokee 2-1 Tango at 22 right, ready for takeoff. That's all you got to tell them. We'll actually wait till this guy gets off the ground. And
assuming we're number 2 since she's not
Archer
ready.
88 Tango,
Yeah.
traffic
Yeah, we'll be
12
number
o'clock
2.
At 1 mile, 2,500 southbound Cherokee. Approved. Runway 22 right, clear for takeoff.
Clear for takeoff, 288, 22 right.
Archer 88 Tango, runway 22 right, clear touch and go, number 2 to follow the Super Cub. Correction, runway 22 left, clear touch and go, number 2 follow the Super Cub.
you can hear his boss in the background telling him what to say.
And traffic inside 88 Tango.
Cherokee 4121 Tango at 22 right, ready for south departure.
Cherokee 4121 Tango, China Tower, hold short, runway 22 right.
Holding short, runway 22 right, 21 Tango.
Cherokee 21 Tango, fly runway heading, runway 22 right, clear for takeoff.
22 right, clear for takeoff, Cherokee 21 Tango.
Right. Finals clear. Right out the center line here.
Chandler Tower, this
Full
is
power,
Warrior
engine
4751
instruments
at
look
22 right,
good.
ready for takeoff.
And we're going to rotate at 60.
4751 China Tower, hold short, runway 22 right.
Holding short 851.
There's something interesting in that clip. Apparently there was a new controller training that day, and he cleared a plane to land and take off on the same runway, if you caught that. Unfortunately, he did that at the same time. You can hear his boss immediately correct him in the background. Brian even makes a comment about it. And the controller immediately corrects the clearance. Man, that must be a stressful job. Oh, and one more announcement. I'm also putting up a short video clip that I took while I was in the back seat watching Trent fly. So I hope you enjoy that. Now, I haven't had any time to come up with any flashy lead-ins or lead-outs for my webcast videos or for the audio, for that matter. So forgive the primitive nature of these casts so far, but hopefully I'll get around to that stuff eventually. Well, that should do it for this cast. Please give me any feedback through the comments for this episode or through the contact page. Both are found on www.studentpilotcast.com. Like any podcaster, especially a new one like me, I want to know if you're listening. So please drop me a line and let me know. Even constructive criticism is welcome. How else can I make it better? Now, y'all have a great day, and until next time, remember, life is good. I'm going to be a pilot. Music for today's audio cast is the song To Be an Angel from the great Canadian band Uncle Seth. You can get more information and subscribe to the Student Pilot audiocast using iTunes, Zune, or any other podcatcher at www.studentpilotcast.com.